Jimmy fucking Chalmers.
Language.
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
Welcome to the Nerdcast with your hosts, Dark Samus 288 and Snakeskin 94. On this episode of the Nerdcast, we take a look at Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Hello, friends and friends. Welcome to the second to last installment of the Star Wars reviews, Return of the Jedi. And in a week, in less than 2 weeks, in less than 2 weeks, it's going to be Return of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, we need to talk about this movie. And honestly, just right out the gate, I've always felt Return of the Jedi goes a bit underrated. Every Star Wars movie has its little criticisms, but out of the original trilogy, Jedi seems to be the one that people have a few more issues with. The lighter tone, the Ewoks, Boba Fett's kind of anticlimactic death, and the Ewoks.
Yeah. Honestly, if they just made them Wookiees, no one would be complaining in the first place.
I want to say that there was probably a group of people that tried to be like, hey, maybe those are just little Wookiees or something. I mean, they kind of look like Wookiees, just teddy bears, whereas regular Wookiees look like, they look like Wookiees.
The thing is, actually, I saw a picture on Facebook. It was, I was a Care Bear once, and then I tried meth. And it was a picture of Wicked.
Oh my God. I knew that's where that was going.
Yep. So, and why do they always have Wicked as, those rape train jokes? It's so stupid.
I don't know. Maybe he's the representative at the United Nations of decent memes.
Something like that. He stole the sloth for that meme, and he's just like, no, screw you. I'm gonna get this one. So yeah, this movie. I have a confession to make.
Yes.
Episode 5 was not always my favorite movie. It used to be this one.
You mean to tell me that your favorite Star Wars movie was at one point not, the original Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back? Plebe. No,
I think my reasoning was more that it was the climax of everything that this whole series from the first movie was building up, and it gets to that point, and you get to see the very end. Well, now not really, because we have Force Awakens, but still.
Well, it's kind of an end. I mean, the original trilogy cast members are going to be in Force Awakens, but Mark Hamill has gone on saying that, part of the reason he almost didn't sign up was because, Luke had his arc, so... And Han Solo thought that he peaked with Harrison Ford thought Han Solo peaked with Empire, so that's why they put him in Carbonite, because they're like, well, we don't know if he's gonna return to the next movie, so freeze his ass, yo.
And I will say, something that should have been said in episode 5 as well, but the way the animation goes and the way everything looks in episodes 5 and 6, it actually looks better from the original movie. Yes, the original movie had some fantastic effects.
You're talking about the special edition.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the special edition. I'm talking about the fact that with episodes 5 and 6, they used stop motion, and it actually looked really good.
Yeah, it did. Like I said, very underrated movie. I really can't think of too much off the bat that I like I like Return of the Jedi. I like how it concluded the story, and if you grew up like we did, where it's like, oh, the original trilogy, but then you grow up with the prequel trilogy, and then and then as soon as you see Revenge of the Sith in theaters, you immediately go home and tell your parents, hey, can we watch New Hope?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you finish the whole thing, and it's like, okay, the circle is complete.
Except not really, because now we have another trilogy.
Yes.
It's gonna be so good. I will say, even though this is the most underrated of the prequels, they did still give us stuff that we loved. Like, I know how everyone obsessed over the speeder bike chase
Yeah.
on Endor. I mean, seriously, those are probably the coolest type of land transport I've seen in the Star Wars universe.
I feel like every Star Wars chase scene has tried to best the speed race scene just as far as cool badass stunts goes. Like whenever I think of that chasing and Attack of the Clones where Obi-Wan and Anakin are chasing the bounty hunter, I instantly think, man, they're trying to outdo the speed bike thing.
And then you have the pod race. It's like, yeah, it's a great scene, but I mean, and
It's
yes,
not the
I
speed
feel
bike.
like it's not the speed bike chase. Yeah, I've tried to think of maybe the camera angles are a little better in the pod race. Maybe this, maybe that. No, the speed bike chase is still freaking awesome.
Well, yeah, you got stormtroopers everywhere chasing them. They're flying off the bikes, and Luke cuts one of them in half, when it's right next to him. Just total boss, and it was. Don't get me wrong, it was also the hardest level in any kind of Star Wars arcade game that featured it, because you had to steer and shoot at the same time.
Kind of reminds me of Lego Star Wars now, where you get to do that area. Those mini kits were near impossible to get.
You know what? Fuck Lego Star Wars, man. Those games, I replayed those games with my friend. Those are a lot harder than I remember. Like, we bought the complete saga Lego Star Wars one, and we're playing it at his house. And I'm like, okay, at least the prequel levels, because it was Lego Star Wars 1, the prequels, and 2, the original trilogy. I'm like, okay, the prequel game was not this hard.
You were saying, by the way, I still love this game.
Hey, look, I'm just saying that Lego games are hard, okay? Well, they're harder than you think they would be.
Yeah, I agree.
So this film, the first thing that this film does that I like, it's how it opens. Because in the original cut of the original trilogy, of the first Star Wars, you hear about Jabba the Hutt, but it's like, man, who's Jabba the Hutt? And then in Empire, you don't see him again, and it's like, man, who's Jabba the Hutt? And then this movie, it's like, oh, you meet Jabba the Hutt for the first time, because they go to Jabba's temple to get Han back. And I have to imagine everyone's reaction the first time they saw Jabba the Hutt. It's like, oh, we're gonna meet Jabba the what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny. Again, like I said in the episode 2 review, what was the color of Yoda's lightsaber? Was everything that was like the big question. This movie, building up episodes 4 and 5, what does Jabba the Hutt look like? Number 1, and number 2, what does Vader look like behind that mask? It's just those 2 questions. And it's so funny because I remember asking that question myself when I first saw the original trilogy. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if I really like what Vader looked like underneath that mask. And then you see episode 3 where he gets burned alive, and it's like, okay, that makes much more sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say the alternative to how he looked prior to looking that old was significantly better. Well,
Mhm.
as far as parents, I always wondered though, like, man, I wonder what people thought because they never said what actually made Anakin become Darth Vader in the original movies. At least I think so. And after seeing his look, I mean, I guess people would assume like, oh, maybe he got burned or something. But then again, when people think that, oh, that's just damage from the lightning,
I don't know.
we're getting too ahead. So anyway, so Luke goes to Jabba's place. No, he sends C-3PO and R2-D2 first because actually, why did he send them in first?
It was something of like, I think he was trying to get on Jabba's good side originally. And then when he goes down there, he's like, great, I have to actually do this by myself.
Oh, and we're forgetting one of the most memorable scenes in film and memorable scenes in cinema history. Who are you? Someone who loves you.
Yeah. Leia.
I'm really glad Harrison Ford decided to come back because Han and Leia was probably as a kid one of my first live action OTPs. So to see them reunite, I was just like, oh, they instantly get captured by Jabba, thrown in a cell, and I think and he feeds a dancer to the Rancor, but pretty touching scene though.
Mm-hmm. It's very good, and honestly, I love the design that they made for I forget what the name of her bounty hunter form was. I keep thinking it's Bosk, but I'm like, no, that's the green lizard guy.
I would say, you're thinking of Boss Gags?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the lizard guy that I'm thinking of. I forget, but honestly, the helmet she wore was very interesting.
Yeah,
Especially the fact that if you look at like the slit of where her eyes are supposed to be, it's like almost like it looks like it's processing something, you know?
yeah, and honestly, that's where I always thought that they got the design for that bounty hunter because you're talking about the one from episode 2, right?
Which one?
You were saying Leia's helmet was reminding you of that one bounty hunter, and you're talking about the one from episode 2, right?
No, I'm talking about the one from episode 6 or from episode 5, where you see the officers underneath, and then you see that one claw like on the
Oh,
floor.
are you talking about the robot they had there?
No, that's IG-88. I'm talking about the one that kind of looked down at the
Know what
commanding officer and
you
kind of
actually
was.
know what the robot's called?
Yes, I do.
Oh my god, you're such a nerd. The point is, there's a thing that looks like a thing. Luke's like, hey, asshole, just give me my friends back. And Jabba's like, fight the Rancor. And the Rancor's like, roar. And then Luke's just like, hey, choke on this. And it proceeds to choke on that. And then he's like, okay, Jabba, what now? And Jabba captures him somehow. And it's really, I forget how it happens. All I know is the scene when they're over the Sarlacc pit. That whole 5 minutes is really cool.
Mm-hmm. And I love how it's like, at first out of the carbonite, he has like hibernation sickness or something. It's like I can't see, and he's like, I could start to see a little bit, but it's just like a bunch of brown, and it's like there's not much to see. I used to live here.
That's funny. Well, wait,
So
did Han? No, wait, he's not from Tatooine. He's a smuggler.
he's from, dude. He's from Corellia.
I totally know what that is. So Luke's
I'm
like,
sorry. I'm remembering the level from the original Rogue Squadron, and that his ship is a Corellian cruiser, and you had to literally. Okay, there's one part of that level where you have to face against AT-ATs that are like trying to destroy like the main political administration building,
oh, that sounds
and
fun.
you're having to use tow cables, but the space is like really confined, so you only have like a couple feet before you crash into the side of the cliff.
You know that game's no longer canon, right? Hashtag Disney 2015.
It was made by Lucasfilm. It wasn't made as like a book or anything like that, okay?
You're just jealous because Clone Wars and Rebels are canon, but not anything else.
I know.
Hashtag Steve Zahn, or whoever that author was. Anyway, so...
Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, Timothy Zahn. Hashtag Timothy Zahn, rest in peace. So, well, he's alive, I think. So Jabba's like, oh yeah, and Slave Leia. Slave Leia is Slave Leia.
And honestly, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, I guess.
So the preceding scene is I call it the siege of the hut, because Luke straight up just takes it to Jabba's men. He's slicing everyone left and right because R2 shoots him his lightsaber, and dude, Luke looks like a total badass, man. I mean, he's like chopping up pig people and all those other guys, and they're all falling into the pit. Then eventually, and then Leia starts to choke out Jabba the Hutt, and it's like, damn, Leia's a badass. She just choked out the Jabba the Hutt. It's not like, oh, she just took down a few dudes in the others. No, she killed one of the biggest gang lords in this universe's galaxy. That's dope. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. That's another thing going into the Force Awakens. Jabba the Hutt's dead.
Yeah, if you really think about it, though, it's Leia when she's still in her slave outfit, so it's just like, man, the slave really took it to the master, didn't she?
Oh my god. So Jabba dies. Boba Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit, and I know this isn't canon, him escaping. I'd still like to think he escapes, and he'll show up in the sequel trilogy somehow, some way, but that's just wishful thinking, probably. And everything's all cool. And this must be the movie I watched the least, because the next thing I think I can remember is they're like meeting on like a ship or something. Admiral Akbar's there.
Actually, I was thinking the same thing, because it's like they get off of before that. After they rescue Han, they go out to that ship, and Luke goes to visit Yoda again. And that's when Yoda dies.
That made me so sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, even if you just watch the original movies, it's like, oh, Yoda's that wise, funny old man from Empire. And it's like, oh, he dies. And then it sucks, especially if you're growing up as a prequel kid, because sure, you didn't know Yoda then, but you grew up with him, being, oh, he's a cool guy in episode 1, to him being, dude, really badass in episode 2, to being, oh my god, this dude's a beast in episode 3, and then he dies in episode 6. It's like, huh. That's literally my reaction to him dying. Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then the infamous scene between Luke and Obi-Wan. So what I told you is true from a certain point of
view. Fuck that, man. You know what that is? That's an add-on, a retcon, or just changing something. I don't have a problem with that, but you know what the thing is? He's not wrong, though. He did tell him that Darth Vader murdered Anakin, and watching the prequels, you could insinuate that, oh, from the minute Anakin helps kill Mace Windu, that's when he becomes Darth Vader. But even then, it's not so much like, it's not Darth Vader betraying Anakin. You know what it is? It's like if Anakin lived in a house and then he moved out. No, it's like if he lived in an apartment with a roommate and he moved out without telling that roommate, and there was a replacement roommate that he gave him, and the roommate turned out to be a complete dick. That's what Anakin and Vader is.
Yeah, a weird analogy, though. But
It's
hey,
weird. It's weird, but it's not wrong.
yeah, I know. So then they go and they're building a second Death Star, and in the opening shot of the movie, you have the somewhat completed Death Star, and you have the guys like, you're asking for the impossible. I need more men. The Emperor will provide you with whatever means necessary to get this done on time. I'm just like, the Emperor is coming here? Yes, and he is most displeased with your apparent lack of progress.
And would it really be Vader's lack of progress?
Honestly, I feel like he's just passing the thing that the Emperor yelled at him onto his men.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, Vader was the one that couldn't shoot down Luke, and by proxy got the Death Star blown up. And then, Vader captured Solo, but then that went awry because Jabba the Hutt's gone, and he wasn't able to turn Luke to the dark side, so he failed there. And then Strike 3 would actually be, Jabba the Hutt, probably one of their biggest, maybe not supporters, but, they didn't have beef with each other's dead. So, Vader's kind of batting under 100 right now.
And if you really think about it, Episode 3 is the only time where Vader actually gets some stuff done.
Yeah, I mean, he kills kids, but he leads Jedis to their doom and stuff.
He leads the entire Jedi Temple to ruin, kills all the political power on Mustafar, and then, of course, he doesn't destroy Obi-Wan, but he also kills his freaking wife, too.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of theories about Luke Skywalker being Kylo Ren. I have to imagine at some point Luke inquired, hey, whatever happened to my mom? And Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin are just like, that's his turn to the dark side. Like father, like son. Their mother, they find out the truth about their mom, then they turn to the dark side. That'd make a lot of sense. And what if Luke ends up hating his father because of it? Oh, that'd be. I just figured out Force Awakens. I'm still gonna see it though, because I want to help that movie make all the money it's gonna make.
Mm-hmm. And especially because game theory's on board with that theory anyway.
Yeah.
Because seriously, okay, I know that Force Lightning is only that Force Lightning is dark side power. However, isn't Force Choke also an exclusively dark side power? And yet you see Luke use it too?
I was gonna say that my very limited knowledge of Star Wars mythology and Force powers and lightsaber colors and meanings and all that is kind of limited, but to my understanding, yes, Force lightning is dark side exclusive, but the Force choke thing. Okay, so in the Clone Wars TV show, right? Anakin is shown using that for interrogation. And, he was kind of heading down the dark path anyway. But I have to imagine that, that Force choke is probably a gray area as far as Force-sensitive people are concerned. Because it's you could use it for interrogation purposes, or you could use it to crack some necks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
So there's a video I saw where it's all lightsaber colors and meanings behind the colors, explained. It's actually really interesting because the color of lightsaber and stuff can also help identify certain Force abilities too. So it's cool.
Honestly, though, now that I think about it, not the Clone Wars CG one, but the original cartoon 5-minute shorts.
Yeah, the one animated by. Sorry.
Mace Windu Force chokes Grievous, and that's why he has that cough.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was gonna use that exact example.
Yeah.
Did
So
you
yeah,
did
this
you watch Chris Stuckerman too?
uh sort of. I
Because I
saw it
was gonna,
whenever it was on, but not really like really deep into it.
still though. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, they're in a meeting or something. Admiral Akbar's there, and they're like, "So the Empire's got like this thing going on Endor. We should take care of that." And they're like,
Hmm.
"Okay." So they
Yep.
go to Endor.
And so they go to Endor and they have that speeder bike chase, and they're
Yeah.
kind of just wandering around, and this is when the Ewoks happen. They take Leia, and then eventually uh Chewie just blindly steps into a trap, and it's like, gosh, Chewie, why are you always sticking with your stomach? And
Oh,
then you
Chewie.
have, oh, Chewie, you old windbag
You fuzzball.
carpet. Yeah, yo, carpet. So they get caught by the Ewoks, and the Ewoks think that 3PO is a god.
Yeah. So, by the way, you know one thing we didn't touch on in episode 5 about C3O? C3PO was a whiny douche in Empire.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, he's better, but I think it's also because, they seem to think I'm a god.
Yeah. Honestly, though, the interaction uh between 3PO and R2D2 are probably some of the funniest moments of the original trilogy.
Some of
In
the
all
fun.
honesty.
Oh, easily. R2 and 3PO are one of the quintessential buddy teams of film. You know, I wish there was a translator for R2 because I would love to know what he tells 3PO half the time.
Honestly, the best one that I remember was when it's like, I do agree with you that the Queen's or the that Princess Leia's chambers are very cold and freezing. And it's like, but it's supposed to be freezing. And right at the end, 3PO's just like, oh, switch off.
Oh, 3PO. So after the spirit bike chase, and Leia lets down her hair because I think it was something like Carrie Fisher was tired of like all the baggy clothes from the first two movies. She said she felt Leia didn't get to be feminine, enough. So, she lets the hair down. She's got the slave Leia outfit, which I'm surprised doesn't come under fire from feminists, but I guess they gotta admit that she looked hot too. So so Luke reveals to Princess Leia how, hey, so Vader's my dad. She's like, what? And you're kind of you're kind of my sister. And she's like, and she's not like, didn't we make out?
She's more just like, I kind of always had known that it would be like that.
But that sounds even creepier.
I know, right? And then you have Hawk come out. It's like,
It's like
what
it's
what
like
did
that
you
scene.
think?
It's like that scene in the first Back to the Future where Michael J. Fox makes out with the young version of his mom, and she's
Yeah.
like, when I kiss you, it feels like I'm kissing my brother. And Michael J. Fox just goes, I know exactly what you mean.
Oh man. So honestly, Hod thinks that, instead of going up to Luke, he just automatically assumed that Leia's cheating on him or something. And
Yeah, he's like, oh, you couldn't tell me, but you could tell Luke. And it's just like, Han is a jealous boyfriend. That's adorable.
yeah. And so when they automatically decide, okay, the Ewoks are gonna help us with getting the shield generator down. And so this is what most people don't like, is the fact that the Empire can be killed by Ewoks.
And the Empire
You
will be defeated by Ewoks. That's improbable.
It is improbable because think about it. In episode 3 and episode 2, they are fighting droids. Yes, I know they were the comic relief / horrible enemies of the prequels. But seriously, if you look on Utapau, the one thing I could think of is right before the chase between Grievous and Obi-Wan is the point where you see that one lone clone go up to that spider robot, hop on top of its head, and shoot his gun straight down.
You mean Commander Cody? Yeah, that's because Commander Cody's a badass.
I know. And now you just have all these frickin'. Now you have the Empire be destroyed by a bunch of teddy bears.
Oh God! Way to make him sound like a bunch of wit.
Intensifies, baby.
Thanks for making the galactic, summing up the entire galactic empire by saying, oh, you mean those guys that got killed by teddy bears? Yeah, no, thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Oh, guarantee that's so. So you mean to tell me those Force Awakens commercials when Rey's just like, there's stories about what happened. It's true, all of it, even the part with the teddy bears.
That would be hysterical.
If she straight up says even the part about the Ewoks or the midi-chlorians or something pertaining to the original or prequel trilogies that people that was kind of, I will laugh my butt off because that'd be awesome.
Yeah, even the midi-chlorians. You made a reference. Abrams just trolled Lucas.
I love how Lucas just defends the prequel trilogy to anyone, no matter how much scrutiny it gets him. It just tells me, you know what? That guy's still got some balls. So Luke turns himself into Vader, and he's like, "Sup, Dad?" And he's like, "I see you've accepted the truth. I've accepted the truth that you were once Hayden Christensen, and only now have you become James Earl Jones."
And speaking of Hayden Christensen, though, the prequels is the only movie I've seen him in, and now apparently there's a couple other movies that I want to see. That it was something along the lines of like a citywide blackout happened, and most of the people in the city are dead. And Hayden Christensen apparently stars in it. And I want to see his acting outside of the prequels too. So should be interesting if I can find the movie. That is. But then you have the point where Vader just straight up grabs Luke's lightsaber. It's like, I see you have constructed a new lightsaber.
Impressive.
Most impressive. And do you notice, just kind of going back a little bit to the theory of, him being towards the dark side. Do you notice that with most dark side lightsabers, you hear they go, they kind of come out more quickly. In a sense.
They had that.
And with the good guys, it's always,
Yeah.
Episode 6, Luke's green lightsaber comes out faster.
That may just be coincidence, or maybe green lightsabers are a little more powerful than blue lightsabers.
That might be a little bit, yeah.
So, I rewatched the movie a few days ago, and there was this, and when Luke's talking to Vader, I remember something that Vader said that I never really thought about the context before. When Luke's like, "Come with me," and Vader's just like, "You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master." And I'm like, oh, and I remember I'm like, "Oh yeah, you don't know the power of the dark side." It's a cool line people say from him. But then I think about it, he's like, "I must obey my master," and I thought about it. is Vader afraid of the Emperor and to an extent the dark side, even though he wields the dark side?
Well,
Or is that
here's
just
the thing.
or is that just him getting kind of soft because, in the conflict in him because of Luke?
Here's the thing. When it comes to this, I always think back to the Force Unleashed. When you're fighting Shakti before she falls into the slaughtering grounds or whatever, the ancient abyss is what she
Yeah.
calls it. She says, Scarco is like, "You will never convince me to betray my master." Poor boy. The Sith always betray one another, but I'm sure you'll learn that soon enough. I feel honestly that Vader's afraid that the Emperor's going to betray him.
And in the end, to jump ahead a bit, that fear, if he had it, ended up being right, because this is one thing I loved about connecting Revenge of the Sith to Return of the Jedi. There were always similarities between the prequels and the original, but specifically Revenge and Return, there are a lot of mirrors, like when Palpatine told Anakin to execute Dooku, and Dooku just has that look of terror, on his face, and then Anakin kills him, and then eventually becomes Vader. And Sidious eventually does the same thing and tells Luke to kill Vader and become his new apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge of the Sith was set up really well in the way that you could definitely mirror that to Revenge, as far as like Anakin's actions versus Luke, and how there's and similar plot things that happen, but whereas it contributes to Anakin's dissension and Luke's ascension.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good in that.
Yeah, I agree. So you then have kind of like you kind of have the kind of in parallel to episode 1, you have the Vader versus Luke.
Yeah.
You have the battle above the recreated Death Star, and then you have the race to shut down the shield generator.
Yeah, boy.
And then this whole scene just works so well. And I love how when Leia gets hurt and she's laying down, it's not bad. They're protecting R2 to try and get the door open. And it's just like, you have one of the stormtroopers come up and is just like, "Freeze, don't move." And then you see Leia pull out her blaster. And then Ha's just like, "God, I love you. I know." Just the trooper. So funny.
Oh man, I love these original movies, man. They're awesome.
I know. So good.
So I mean, oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned Lando at all.
Oh, Lando's basically leading the assault against the second Death Star.
Yeah. Lando's Han, and that one little alien with the flaps that kind of reminds me of a that basically reminds me of an alien version of Short Round. Are leading the assault.
I was thinking the same thing.
And they're leading the assault on the new Death Star, or Death Star 2.0, or I'll even accept DT 2000. And because it wasn't finished, I know, but is it just me, or does that Death Star look bigger than the original Death Star?
I think it looks about the same.
Because I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it wasn't finished yet, and it looked bigger because of the exoskeleton or whatever, but it always looked bigger than the original Death Star to me. And Or maybe the explosion just looked bigger. I don't know. Point is Lando's leading the charge, and Star Wars has always been really good at balancing their action sequences, especially like Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. Well, okay, those are the ones where they really have multiple action things going on. But you know what I mean? The space battle is interesting, and even though the Ewoks are kind of helping take it to the stormtroopers, I mean, some of the Ewoks still die, and there's a lot of points where if the Empire's got the rebels surrounded, and it's like, oh, dude, the rebels are in dire straits right now. Meanwhile, you got the tension building between the Emperor and Luke and Vader. And I kind of always got this feeling that that Luke really hated the Emperor more than he ever did Vader, just because I mean he's more on the offensive with Vader in this fight, but but the Emperor is the whole reason everything bad in his life happened. So,
and it kind of shows the parallel in episode 6 when he's hiding from Vader. It's like, I will not fight you. And it's like, you will not fight you. I sense a sister. You have another sister. So that's what Obi-Wan was hiding from me. If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. And then, bam! That is where Luke.
That's where Luke snaps. He snaps like his name was Cracker Jack, man. Or maybe I should have said Crackle Pop. Point is, yeah, and dude, he takes it to Vader, and there's a theory that. In the movie, there's a theory where Vader was super holding back in Return of the Jedi, but I've read the novelization, and Vader Vader monologues to himself in his head how, wow, Luke's really powerful. I have to go all out. So there's debate on that. All I know is that Luke Unleashed he kind of just demolishes Vader. Like that part where he's just striking down him and then cuts his hand off. It's like, dude, he might kill him. Actually, I think he might have killed Vader if the Emperor didn't say anything.
Yeah, right.
It's like what if he just let that happen? And what Lucas originally wanted? He wanted Vader to die, but he wanted Luke to put on the helmet and it would end the movie by saying, "Now I am Vader." Which, I mean, I'm not saying I would have loved that as much as I love the conclusion to this movie, but that kind of would have been cool.
And then you have, honestly, the fight above the new Death Star is my favorite. And you just have them literally, once the shield's down, boom, go into the Death Star. And they have to get past a Super Star Destroyer. And it's like, the best part is when that one A-Wing pilot goes all kamikaze, and he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to kill them. And you just see it start spinning towards the cockpit, and it's like, get deflector shields up. Ah! Too late. Just blast it to bits.
I'm being completely serious when I say this. Kamikaze never looked so good.
Right? Exactly.
I mean, I've seen I saw that one kamikaze thing from, what was it, Independence Day or something, where the president's just like, "I'm back, boys." But this takes the cake.
I agree. So the Super Star Destroyer, it literally is destroyed, and then you have the shield go down finally, and then directly after that, they fly in and they get to the main reactor, and they go in and they actually freaking destroy it. They use more proton torpedoes and they fly out. And the best part is when they are trying to fly out, the satellite dish on the Millennium Falcon gets chipped off. And then you have that one part where you see like the camera like tilt the Millennium Falcon, and then you have the flames like creeping up at the edge of the screen, and then bam, you see that explosion, and the Millennium Falcon pops out. And the best part is when Lando's like, yeah! And then you have the other dude, the other big ear dude, just going, yeah! I'm just like, dude, you really didn't think you were going to make it, did you?
You know, this movie is really a prime example of earn your happy ending, because every rebel, every good guy that survived that day deserved to survive, because well, evidently they didn't end the war, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, think about it from the rebels' point of view. It's like, okay, DT-2000's destroyed, Vader's gone, and now the Emperor's gone. Okay, we may have gotten rid of all the stormtroopers, but yeah, let's party.
Mm-hmm.
And then the epic big rock ending. That's basically what it is. Sidious is just like, fine, noob, and he electrocutes Mark, and he's like, no, young Skywalker, you will die. And this is another comparison I want to draw to Revenge of the Sith. You know, remember how I said how I was like, wait, is Vader scared of the dark side? Well, remember when Anakin saves Palpatine from Windu? Because it was kind of reversed, where Palpatine had Windu, with the lightning, but Windu was able to deflect. So when Anakin cuts off his hands and Palpatine electrocutes him, you see Anakin with this kind of like scared expression, and then after he's dead, it's like, what have I done? It kind of made me think. So when he saw Luke getting electrocuted, was he kind of thinking like, oh, I've been here before, but now I can actually do something about it? Or it's like, he's not afraid anymore. Some kind of symbolism. But that was the big comparison that I really see, where it's like, he's not afraid anymore.
I definitely can see that. I do definitely see where you're coming from with that. And you kind of see him looking at Palpatine and looking at Luke. He looks at Palpatine, and Palpatine is just going all out as fast as he can. And then you see him look at Luke, who's in complete and utter agony. And
he's
honestly,
so
though,
agonized.
If you see Luke, honestly, the acting that he did there was really good. Because seriously, you don't just sit there and take it screaming out. You are literally convulsing because electricity is running through you.
Yeah, and I just had to imagine when they were telling Mark Hamill, okay, we're gonna add the effects in later, but I want you to, we need you to act like you're being electrocuted. And he's like, okay. And then after they say cut, they're like, wait, for real, dude, are you okay? And Ian McDermott is just like, did I actually do that? So Vader gives Sidious a Disney death. What I mean is Sidious falls down a pit, and I don't know what it is, but seeing the Emperor die was so satisfying. It's just like, yeah, fuck you. This is for Naboo, and for the Skywalkers, and for the Gungans, for the Ewoks. This is for Hoth. This is for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. And when he dies and explodes, and you see the blue effect, it literally always felt like man, did they just destroy the dark side? Because that's what that looks like. You see all that leave, and it's like, was that his power?
Wait,
Oh.
hold on. Okay, do you remember in Force Unleashed when you defeat Kazan Paradas and Shakti, both of them let their force spirit like explode out of them? That's
Right.
the same thing.
Oh, that makes so much sense. We figured it out.
I have such a newfound appreciation for this movie now. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's that before in the expanded universe there was a book that came out where it's like, so Darth Sidious was so evil and so powerful that when he died, his spirit was able to come back to life. Which honestly, that kind of sounds like something the Emperor would be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
also sounds like Darth Plagueis the Wise, almost.
Oh my god, that makes that. Oh, just get here, Force Awakens.
Oh man, so this movie, holy crap!
Yup.
One of the other things I want to say is when he drags when Luke drags Vader out, it's like, take my mask off. I will die no matter what, but I want to see my son from my own eyes.
No,
and you see him pull it off. It's just like, I see good. Luke's been saying, I see good in you still. He's like, you've already saved me. You were right. Tell your sister you were right about me. And then he dies. And
when I was rewatching that scene, I seriously got choked up because it's like, oh, I never realized how much I really like love the character Darth Vader until I saw that again, because it's like, man, I've never been sad about a villain dying. If it's a cool one, I'm like, oh man, that's a bummer. That dude was cool, but never like, what if, man? What if? This is all the Tusken Raiders' fault. If they didn't let his mom die, things would have been so much better. But no. Thanks, You know what they should really call the Star Wars movies? They should change the name from Star Wars to Tatooine Sucks, the Saga. Seriously, no wonder why they created an entire new desert planet named Jakku. Because no one wants to go to Tatooine anymore. Guarantee you, after the Hutts died, everyone was like, "Wait, Jabba the Hutt's dead? Sweet!" Killed their masters and just left the planet to rot. That's what I would have done.
Probably. Now, okay. The end scene. It's like Han's finally pretty much given up. He's just like, you know what? Go with Luke. I don't mind. It's just like, no, it's not like that at all. He's my brother. Wait, you're not friend-zoning me? I still have a chance? Yes! And goes and kisses her.
I love the look that when she pulls him in for a kiss, he still has this look on his face like, wait, what? But then he pulls back, he's like, I get to marry Carrie Fisher. Now, one added scene I want to say that George Lucas had that I actually liked was when they're celebrating and the rebels got the fireworks shooting off. I actually like how, it shows fireworks going off in like Bespin and Naboo and like plants from the prequel movie. Yeah, Coruscant, because it's like, you know what? They deserve to celebrate too.
Exactly. The Empire is gone.
Fuck you, Sidious.
So this movie, it's honestly very underrated. I definitely give this movie a solid 8.5.
Man, I forgot how much I like this movie. I gotta give it a 9.5 because watching again and talking about it, I'm like, yeah, this is one of the best book ends of like a saga or a trilogy like ever, and I can honestly watching the prequel movies to that and be like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I am okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Bring it on, JJ.
you do realize, J.J. Abrams, that if you mess this up, you will be forever known as Jar Jar Abrams.
I've seen that. That would be great. So yeah, no, this movie's great, underrated. Go watch it. Go watch the original movies again. Go watch Phantom Menace, but fast forward through Coruscant, and then the last half. Go watch bits and pieces of Attack of the Clones, primarily the Geonosis battle. That's really all you need to watch. Maybe the scene with Anakin and Tatooine and him finding his mom, because that's really cool. But then just watch and then honestly, I say watch all Revenge of the Sith, especially the last half. From like 10 minutes before he executes Order 66 on, at least watch from that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then watch the original trilogy, because Star Wars is awesome-tacular.
Mm-hmm. Now, Force Awakens, it's finally becoming a reality.
11 days!
See this.
Well, I mean,
we're recording this on Sunday before this goes up on Thursday, so that's why.
Well,
but we have a week before Force Awakens.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Lucas. Oh, I love this. Okay, so yeah, that's it for me, Snakeskin.
And that's it from me, Dark7288. Thank you so much for watching my reviews. We were a lot of fun to do. Don't know when you'll see the review for Force Awakens, but
because we're gonna have to see it like 4 times in theaters.
Yeah, I've seen it once on Thursday night, which, by the way, Snakeskin, technically I've seen it 2 hours before you.
No, because technically we'll be seeing it at the exact same time. Kind of.
Okay, well, I see it at 10:45. It'll be 8:45 your time when that happens, and you're still seeing it at 10:30.
Oh, God damn it! Don't talk to me for the next 3 hours, okay? No, 4 hours, okay?
Dude, I'm not going to do that to you. I wouldn't be that mean.
You're right. You're nice.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a lot of fun. If you want to see us do reviews of other things, like maybe Breaking Bad or, I don't know, Game of Thrones or something else, that would be super awesome.
Yeah, we watch a lot of stuff.
Yeah. If you're interested in MLP reviews, I have it on my other channel as well, which we've been doing that too. So it's been a lot of fun. But yeah. So once again, thank you. And have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, may the Force be with you, audience.